the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. A life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Hey everybody, welcome to The Crazy Life. I'm Jen, of course. Welcome to the new listeners that haven't been on board, and welcome to our favorite, wonderful, loving fans. We adore you all. Thank you for downloading our podcast every week. Special shout out to one of our listeners who contacted us this week, just wanted to talk about a few things. And we loved hearing from you. We hope everything goes the way you want it to go. And as always, we are definitely here for you. So if you need anything, just let us know. And that goes for everybody out there. You know, we love talking to you. We love hearing from you. Shout out to us. That's cool. You know, if you want to talk about something specific, we can talk about that too. So, whatever. Anyways, so, of course, with me, as always, is Brian. Hey, Brian.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. In fact, one of our listeners just shot us a message.
Yep.
Cheers. And cheers to you as well.
Yeah.
I love cheers. We don't use cheers in America nearly enough.
No, I agree. You know, it's generally only done if someone from another country says it to us.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's an awesome word. I love the word cheers. And Cheerio. But Cheerio is not nearly used as much as cheers.
No, because, you know, people hear you say that, they just think of the cereal, so it's, yeah.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
But I digress. So how was your week?
It's been different. Monday, for Salty Language, we did an interview with a comic creator, which actually it's up now if people want to go listen to it. His name's Ryan Brown. And then Tuesday, I was on the Beyond the 140 podcast. So that was my first ever live podcast.
Fun. Yeah, you were talking about that last week. How'd it go?
It went well. It was a lot of fun. I was nervous because, you know, each week they do like a hashtag, kind of a topic for, not really a hashtag, but they do a topic for, like, when I'm on there, I give a topic, and then whoever the guest is next week reads all the submissions that people tweet to them. And,
okay.
And then they pick their favorites and read them on the air, kind of a thing.
Okay.
And, you know, so I overthought that whole process, trying to come up with a good one that I was trying to find something, you know, that wasn't overused by At Midnight or something like that already.
Yeah.
And I ended up choosing Rejected Bob Heller tees. And Bob Heller's a guy who makes, like, you know, goofy T-shirts and they're, you know, and such. So everybody kind of, as soon as I said it, everybody was like, that's awesome. And I was like, okay. I was like, good, because I was really nervous about this one. So, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. You know, they asked me some questions, and we had a nice talk. And then Joey on there always does the thing where he pulls like a BuzzFeed quiz or something like that. Mm-hmm. Just for giggles, and then they do some like would you rather type questions. You know, and for mine, the BuzzFeed quiz was like to identify what your favorite drink is. So, which was interesting because, you know, mine came up whiskey. So, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Right
if I'm
on.
not drinking, beer is my drink of choice, but whiskey is my second drink. So. Mm-hmm. It was pretty close. But it's funny, though, because the last question is, like, which alcohol accessory would you be or something like that, or
Mm-hmm.
and it's like cocktail or like umbrella, like the cocktail swords, whiskey stones. I forgot the other ones. As soon as I was like, yeah, it's going to be whiskey stones because that's just the most likely. And afterward, Dell on there is like, I think they just picked based on that last question. He's like, because if you think about it, each one of the questions that they ask are very specific to a type of drink, kind of, or a range of drinks, And I was like, you're totally right. They might just pick off that last question.
That's funny.
Yeah, but anyway, that was a lot of fun. Like I said, I was nervous because it was live, because I've not, like this show in Salty Language, we do recorded, and even though it pretty much goes up as it sounds, it's been very rare there's been editing done, but it's still, there's that option there. If something goes wrong, you can stop.
There's a safety net. Yeah.
Well, we've done it on this show where I've stopped the audio because we've had an issue with Skype, and then we wait until it clears itself up, then we start again.
Right.
They can't do that. They have a time slot. They go, and then on the playback, or if you download the podcast, you can hear everything fine. But live, I guess there were some audio issues with it. And a couple of the people in the chat room were doing a closed captioning service for someone who couldn't hear things, which was really funny.
See, what they need is they need someone to do the signing.
Yeah, well, I mentioned on there that I was like, I feel like we need somebody to do the Garrett Morris thing from the old Saturday Night Live bit when it was Chevy Chase doing the news. Where Garrett Morris would be. He was from the school for the hearing impaired, I think it was, or the school for the deaf. I can't remember how they worded it, but it's Garrett Morris just cupping his hands over his mouth and just yelling whatever Chevy Chase just said. It's,
right.
So, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then last night, Tony and I recorded Salty Language. We're doing this tonight. And then this Sunday, I'm jumping on Moving the Needle, which is a show that Heno's on, where they do kind of a round table discussion type thing. So,
and you've been wanting to get on Moving the Needle.
I have. I actually mentioned it, I think, last week. I don't know if I mentioned it on the show, but I mentioned it to you that I was like, I wanted to get on there. So, yeah, so that's cool. I'm excited about that.
Wow, you're popular.
But yeah, that's 5 shows this week, which is the most I think I've done in a week. 4 was the most before, so yeah.
How's it going with your anxiety?
Oh, it's off the chart. Like,
I can imagine.
It's just, even like doing this show tonight, I can feel that I'm like on edge about it, which there's no reason to be. I'm totally comfortable talking to you about what we talk about.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like being anxious when you're home. You know?
Right. And that's really
like, do you want to watch a movie? Like, oh, geez, it's just.
I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't. But it's part of it, and that's the thing that it's tough for people to understand, because it doesn't make sense. It's not logical.
Right.
It makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
But it's part of the illness that when you get this much, like being on this much, as much as you love it and want to do it, and it feels great when you're in the moment, and it's just the times in between, you have to get that decompression in, because if you don't get that decompression in, the just kind of being alone, being quiet, the anxiety just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds.
Exactly. And with all that, Saturday we're going out to celebrate a friend's birthday too. So basically, my only down day this week was Wednesday. Was the only day I didn't have something going this week. And even though these podcasts are only an hour or 2 type length, it's still.
When you're not used to having this much in one week, and just the being on and talking with people, and it does get overwhelming when it's something you're not used to doing that regularly. Not that you don't talk to people, of course, but
no, but I don't talk to people like this.
Exactly.
For this length of time, and a lot of times I'll start talking to people online or something like that, and I'll trail off. Like I'll just put my phone down for a while or whatever, because I'm done, so what I think is probably, it'll be interesting to see if this leads to, like, next week, to where I have one of those times where, like, I'm not on Twitter much, I'm not on much of anything electric, kind of a thing, because I go through those periods at times where I'm just like, I have to, like you said, I have to decompress, and it'll usually it lasts about a week, you know, kind of a thing. So I'll be curious to see if that's the case, or if I kind of just push through it or whatever. That'll be, we'll revisit it next week when we record and see.
Sure.
Because my tendency is to do that. Like when I get, like when you expose that nerve, essentially, that, eventually I'm like, and I just reject it all, basically, Yeah,
you just have to step away.
Yeah. So we'll see.
I mean, I ended up having a couple days this week where I didn't have anything going on. In the last couple weekends, I mean, I went to Denver. I think I talked about that in the last show.
Yeah.
I went to Denver for the weekend, and then last weekend I didn't really have much going on, so I got a chance to kind of just chill out at home and get caught up on a few things. Saturday I finished a book that I wanted to read. I watched a movie, that type of stuff. I just kind of was by myself, and that really helped.
Yeah.
And then this week I had a couple nights when I just came home from work and nobody was here, and I could just kind of chill with the cats and stuff. And so I'm feeling really good right now. And there's some really cool things that have happened during the week and stuff that have made me feel really good. I got an interview. I didn't end up going on it, but I got asked in for an interview at a place, and the HR manager who called me said that the hiring manager actually picked my resume. So, he was looking at they gave him like the list of different resumes to look at and to pick people he wanted to see, and I was on the list of, he wanted to see me. So, which was really cool because my background doesn't quite fit the role, but something he saw in it, in my resume, really made him want to meet me. Now, and, so that always makes you feel good.
So let me ask, because this is what I would do anyway, even if we were just randomly talking.
Sure.
Did you not go because of any sort of mental health type reason, like nerves or anything like that, or did you have some other reason that you didn't go? No. I'm not asking you to be specific here, if you don't want to be. Yeah.
No, actually, the reason I didn't go is the job is about 2.5 hours away.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good reason. I mean, unless it's a significant, like, pay grade or something, situation.
Yeah. I mean, and it's one of those things that it would require me to
2.5 hours. You'd have to move.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. I mean, and I am planning on moving in the next 6 months to a year closer.
Yeah.
But it still would probably be an hour drive there and back and during the day.
Right.
So,
and I know a lot of people, like, there may be people listening who are like, I'm in 3 hours of traffic. It's like,
yeah.
On top of the hour worth of driving in this area, you also have to factor in the weather. And in the winter, that can be hazardous. Like, my nephew used to drive from where we are, which is, lower part of Michigan, to Dearborn, Michigan, for a job he had. And most of the time, it was no big deal. But then in the winter, you get the black ice on the roads, you get snow, all that stuff. I mean, you remember there was a night he called me because he had just spun his car out and ended up on the other side of the highway. So it's one of those things that after that he was like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. And it was about an hour drive, so it seems fine. But when there's other factors that can make it really awful,
And also, our area and the society around this area, the typical commute is about 30 minutes, maybe 45.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so that's traditionally what happens around in this area.
Right. There are a lot of people that live where we are, which is near Toledo, Ohio, and travel to Detroit for work. You know, that's I mean, maybe not as much now, obviously, because the industry has changed.
Right, but
for
still.
a long time, you would hear people living in Toledo driving to Detroit for work. You know, it was pretty commonplace, actually. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, and that, like I said, it's not like in California or some other parts of the country where, like you were saying.
Like a 15-minute drive's like a 3-hour drive.
Exactly. An hour and a half, 2 hours commute isn't the end of the world. You know, that's not a big deal in those areas. And, you know, and that's great. You know, it's just here, like I would have had to get an apartment there during the week and stuff. So, I mean, it was just logistically, as much as I wanted to, because when I first got the call, I agreed to the interview, and they even asked me, like, is the commute going to be okay for you? And I'm like, yeah, I'll make it work. You know, I'll figure it out. And then when I took a step back and really thought about it, I'm like, you know, logistically, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's like no matter how much my heart wants to do this.
Yeah, that's too far. Yeah, it's because seriously, when you start talking 3 hours or 2.5 hours, you really need to move closer. You know, and an hour is still a commitment because that's 2 more hours on your day, and that's when the weather and the roads are perfect. You know, and by the roads, I mean, like, that's when there's no construction or traffic. I mean, you know, I know you'll have construction anywhere, but it's, you know, on the best day, it's still 2 hours, you know.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, right now I'm doing 45, and I think 45 is my limit.
Yeah. That's the other reason is I know you're not a person who loves a long car ride, so it's... I
don't.
Yeah.
Podcasts make it easier, though.
Right.
I do listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff when I'm in the car, so that helps. And I've got a really, really wonderful car right now.
Yeah.
I've got my Pumpkin is I lovingly call her Pumpkin. My Pumpkin is a 2014 Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk, and of course she's bright orange. So so she's nice and comfortable, and I can control the suspension and everything based upon the roads and the whatever's going on.
Yeah,
it's pretty much, it's one of those cars that it's awesome because it's a perfect blend. It's made for off-roading. It's made for going on the trails and dunes and all the other craziness, but it's also set for someone who's not very car savvy.
Yeah.
So, like, there's actually a dial that I have that I can change for snow or rain or, you know.
It's like the DSLR cameras.
Yes.
How I jokingly referred to the normal setting on there as idiot mode, because that's really what it is. You know, and they generally have dials that, you know, those little images on there are like, oh, there's a lot of sun. Oh, I'm taking a landscape. You know, it's like you can just, oh, this is a portrait. That's all you have to do is just change to that, and they generally will reset to, you know, predetermined settings that are pretty close to right, you know. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it works out perfectly because, like, even the shifter, because it's an automatic, but if you want, you move the stick over and you can change gears manually. So you know, it's perfect. So when I'm driving it, automatic. You know, when my boyfriend's driving it and he likes to do the gears himself, he just flops it over.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's just I'm so happy with this vehicle just because it's perfect for me.
Yeah.
You know, so that makes commute so much nicer because I'm not really, and it's new, so I don't have to worry about, you know, my car breaking down or, you know, anything major like that. So that helps, but it's still, you know, and it's tough.
But realistically though, like, you know, if you add, like I was just using the 2 hour example, if you add 2 hours every day to your whatever, that's 2 less hours that you can decompress, you can get other things done, which can create other stresses. It's, you know, and like you said, you're already traveling 45, so you're already putting the better part of 2 hours in, and this would be, you know, whatever it would be, it'd be longer probably. So
exactly, and that's part of my struggle even right now is maintaining the balance of different things I want to do with my life outside of work and inside of work, you know. And I've told them very specifically, I'm like, I cannot give you more than yeah, my max is 50.
Yeah.
It's 50 hours. I said, I'm comfortable between 40 and 45.
Yeah.
I said, that's 40 and 45 is my sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
Any more than that, because not just because of the commute, but commute adds into it. Any more than that, I get unbalanced, and I start, that's when my illness kind of kicks in.
Right.
And
well,
I start,
and it makes sense, because the medicines that you're on and the different stuff like that puts a bit of a shield around you, but it's not like it's not impervious, like it can be cracked, and it's so if it's tested enough, it'll give, and like you said, the more hours you put in there, then you become fatigued and all this. So the normal defenses that you would be able to, things you could just stave off. Start needling you, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and it does. It just gets to me. It just gets to me, and it's tough because my boyfriend works about 60 hours a week, and at times where money gets a little tight and stuff, he's like, "Oh, just work overtime," and it sounds so simple.
Yeah,
because I do a desk job, so it's not even physical fatigue.
Right.
It does seem so simple to just put an hour in a day extra, no biggie.
Yeah.
But I have to, like I keep telling him, it's like I have to be so careful that I make sure I keep my balance, because if I get myself out of whack, that's when I start making bad decisions, rash decisions. I can't control my emotions.
Right.
I get irritated much easier, and I mouth off when I shouldn't.
Right.
Right.
Which can affect your, the whole reason you're robbing from your emotional bank is to fill up your financial bank.
Yeah.
And if you're, like you said, if you start mouthing off, then you might start robbing from the financial bank, because you may find yourself without a job. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's fine. Again, like every week, I think I say the same thing. It's all about the balance.
It is, though.
Stupid balance, but it is.
It is. Yeah, I mean, it's no different, kind of like when Heno was on the show, and he pointed out, certain things are so similar between mental illness and, recovering from addiction, which is that day-by-day mentality. You might be fine to balance today, might have a great day. Tomorrow, you could just all over the place. I saw a great, it was an illustration, kind of a graphic thing, it was someone telling a story, but it was, with illustrations. And they pointed that out, that it was some days I feel like I can, it's like some days I feel good, and when I do, I get all the things done. But then the next day I might feel horrible and not be able to do anything. And that's where you're at, it's if you start swinging the pendulum too far, you can really throw to where it might take you three. I mean, it's similar to drinking. If you go out and you drink all the beers or whatever it is you like to drink, and it's going to take you X amount of time to recover. Generally, and the older you are, the longer. And with mental illness, it's very similar. If you put things into motion and don't take your time to recover and to reset, you can allow that pendulum to keep swinging freely, and it can just cause all sorts of destruction through, and I don't mean catastrophic stuff, but it can just be, like you said, I'm really irritable. Well, now you're snapping at him. Maybe you snap at other people that you don't want to, friends, coworkers, whatever, or it could be a big thing. You could snap at a boss, and they might go, hey, and maybe, it could lead to disciplinary actions or something,
Right.
So you have to, like you said, balance is very important, but it doesn't have to be long-term balance. It could be right now, like for an hour. It could be just setting yourself back up,
And a lot of it comes with time and understanding. It's not a perfect science, and you just have to really learn yourself.
Yeah.
Learn what your triggers are, learn what you need, you personally need to stay balanced and to continue on the path that you're in.
Yeah, and it's not the same from person to person. Even with the same conditions, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
And
and also situations. I mean, different situations affect me in different ways.
Right.
So, I have to...
And they don't even have to be negative, kind of as we pointed out earlier.
Yeah.
I've done these podcasts, and to me, I'm kind of... I can feel myself wanting to pull in. Like, I can feel myself wanting to become a hermit. Like, to just get into bed, pull the covers over my head, and just hide. I can feel that inside of me right now. Like, and I have to fight that to do this podcast, or whatever, or tomorrow to go out with friends, or the Sunday to do the other, like, I'm gonna have to fight that each day. And so whereas those are all positive things, they're all fun things I love to do, but that's what that's how the anxiety can affect a person, and it's so easy for it to happen.
Oh yeah, and it not unlike a hangover. When you're drinking, you can feel yourself going too far.
Yeah.
It's like as you're drinking the alcohol, as you are overextending yourself emotionally, once you've been there enough,
you usually
know the feelings.
Yeah, we'll say you usually can feel it.
Right.
Because there's some alcohols that affect people differently, to where you don't notice it until all of a sudden.
Well, it is. I mean, honestly,
But, yeah.
I think it's even with mental illness, it's that way too.
It can be. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. I'll be doing stuff, or I'll be having a great time, and I'm talking and enjoying myself, and then all of a sudden, like 3/4 the way through the night, it just like hits me. I'm like, shoot, I have gotten too high.
Yep.
And I just know. I'm like, oh crap, tomorrow's gonna be a rough one.
Yeah, the hangover. It really is a hangover.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
The emotional hangover is just gonna be awful.
Yep.
Whatever, I've been here before. I know how to handle it. I know how to take care of myself.
Yeah.
And so I just have to make sure that if I go too far, then one night I just know that the next couple days I have to be very, very careful and make sure I have plenty of private time, quiet time by myself and stuff, to just kind of get myself back to stable again.
Right, which I know is why a lot of people recommend for people with mental illnesses to, especially anxiety-based type ones, to meditate, because that's finding your balance each day. That gives you that. And I know that's why a lot of people do that, is for that exact reason, is so that it helps you kind of center. It's why we've talked about breathing exercises in the past. That's like a 5-minute meditation, where you go get some alone time in a bathroom or outside or something, and just breathe for a few minutes and just focus on the breathing. And, it's a temporary meditation, and just to help you kind of restore a little of your balance. Now, with alcohol, you can't really do that a whole lot. Like once you're to a certain point, you can't go, a lot of people will go outside, but usually it's, like, I'm going to go outside and breathe for a couple minutes. They don't usually come back in and they're like, all right, I'm good now. Let's no, they're still drunk.
Nice and stable.
Yeah, they're still drunk usually, but yeah.
Right. So it's just, it's recognizing, and all of this stuff just comes with trial and error. Just like, drinking's a great analogy, because just like with drinking, the more you've felt the feelings, the more that you've taken in, and over again, if you've gone out, you get to a point where you're like, okay, I know my limits. It's like, I know what 2 drinks feels like. I know what 4 drinks feels like. Yep. I know what a horrible hangover is going to feel like.
I know what 2 hours feels like. I know what 4 hours feels like. Yeah. In crowds or public or what. It's the same. You're right. It's the same thing. Like, you can just feel it, and when you get away from it. Again, it's a little different at times, obviously, because again, getting away from crowds, you can immediately start feeling better. Just setting a glass of beer down doesn't make you immediately start. Well, I guess scientifically you start the process, but what I'm saying. Yeah.
Right.
You don't generally go, oh, I'm drunk, and then you just, I'm not going to have this beer, and put it down and be like, you know what, I feel a lot better now. Like,
Right,
it's
right.
that's not quite that fast. Whereas anxiety, you can, not always, but you can feel that relief of, like when you leave a place, if you're feeling really anxious, you get outside or whatever, and you're just like, like a great example, going back to that last beer fest I was at. Remember, I was talking about standing in line, and there were so many people around me, and I was just felt, as soon as I got into the actual area, there was all sorts of open room, and I was like, I almost just wanted to like reach my hands out and physically prove to myself that I had space, So.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I got space. I can move. I'm good.
Okay,
All right.
I'm good now. I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah. So it takes a lot. And, something that I wanted to talk about today, kind of going into our topic, is when people peg you as a certain person, and because everybody does it, I think it's human nature. We all do it. We get to know one facet of somebody, or a person in a given time. So I think a good example would be family, because family has a tendency of like picking you at an age, and that's the age that you are for the rest of your life.
Yeah, right.
And regardless of how many times you remind them that, you know what, that was me at 15, that's not me now.
Right.
They just don't get it. It's
right.
No, you are the same person you were at 15.
Yeah.
Even doesn't matter if your likes and dislikes change, doesn't matter anything else other than this is how they remember you. So every time they see you, this is who you're going to be.
Yeah, you know what? When you first brought this topic up to me, the first thing that popped into my head was, picture if you haven't seen someone since high school. Mm-hmm. They odds are a totally different person. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some people who don't
change.
Yeah, don't leap forward. But for the most part, you run into somebody you haven't seen in a long time, and you're like, in your head, they're still that, you remember this was cool in high school, and they're like, yeah, no, it's really not funny, kind of a thing, and it's like, it was funny because we were 16, it's we're 35 now, it's not that funny.
Right. Or people are like me, like I've changed my name. Like I was Jenny.
Yeah.
I was Jenny for a good portion of my childhood up until college. And when I got to college, I started going by Jen or Genevieve.
Right.
Which is my given name for those of you who didn't know that. So nobody calls me Jenny anymore.
Yeah.
Except for high school friends and, and family members.
I had the same thing because there were people that called me Stewie in high school, which I'm not a fan of. It doesn't anger me or anything, but it's just never been, honestly, the reason I never cared for it was that's what a lot of my brother's friends called him. And I wanted to be a different person,
Yeah.
And, and then once I got out of high school, the group of, that I was working with and hanging out with, it started to become Stu, kind of a thing. And I got called that at my first job because there were 4 Brians that worked in the department.
Yeah.
So they called us by our last names generally. Mine, I just got called Stu. In fact, I had a name tag that said Stu at the place. So customers just thought my name was Stu, and, but it's the same thing. There's people that see me now and they'll do the same thing. Every once in a while, hey, Stewie. And it's like, and it's just, I immediately go back to high school, which is not something I like to do. And, or if I see those other guys, hey, Stu, what's going on? It's like, hey, it's.
Yeah, it takes you immediately right back to that place.
It does, yeah.
And it's so tough because even people we see on a day-to-day basis, if you're trying to change something about yourself or you want to change, it's so difficult because you kind of get stuck and this is the person you are, so you must be this person.
Yeah.
And we're not like that. As humans, we're constantly changing, we're constantly growing and developing, or hopefully at least we are. I'd like to think we are,
but perceptions and expectations don't change as quickly as people do.
Exactly.
So,
and I couldn't have said it better. That's exactly it. So it's interesting it's like, how do you how do you manage that? It's like, how do you tell people that you're not the person that they think you are?
Yeah. Well,
You
you
know?
know, I think I don't. I'm sure you'll remember this. Do you remember, like, people used to refer to me as like the angry hermit? It was actually a kind of a, basically, for lack of a better term, it was an online personality of mine,
Yeah.
and it wasn't just online. Like, I didn't go do much. Like, I was I'm still
Right.
pretty introverted. I was severely introverted for a while. And
Yes.
I made a post the one day, and I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm not going to go by this anymore because I don't want to be this anymore. You know, and I started trying, and I still have issues, but I still try really hard to go to things, especially things that I think are important and whatnot, you know.
Yeah.
And it was funny to me because when I announced, like, I kind of posted a thing, and I was like, hey, this is done. Please don't refer to me in this aspect, kind of a thing. And, like, nobody gave a shit. Oops, yeah, whoops, so much for the clean language. But, you know, nobody cared. You know, as far as, like, no one said anything like, hey, like, I thought, to me, this is like, hey, I'm done with this. I'm making a stand. I'm, you know, and it was met with a resounding yawn, you know? It was like, oh, okay, all right.
Right.
So it was, you know, and I know some of it was the, you know, we'll believe it when we see it mentality was probably there in some people, but it was just kind of a, I felt like I was releasing this large weight off of me,
Right.
you know?
It's like, no, I'm changing. Really,
Yeah.
I'm changing.
Nah.
Everyone's like, yeah.
Yeah. Like, there wasn't even, like, a lot of, like, likes or anything on it. It was just like, oh. Because I remember you actually saying, like, you people don't realize how big of a deal this is, you know?
So you don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing. I think another good example is when you decide to lose weight.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's had those moments that you're like, you know what? I am going to lose weight. I am going to start exercising, eating right, and I'm going to lose weight.
Sure you are. Yeah.
Exactly. You'll get great, good for you.
Yeah.
You know, you get a lot of that, little placation, a little, you know, pat on the head, and, you know, maybe somebody might offer to help you, you know. Usually you get a couple offers, you know, like, oh, I've got a great gym I'm going to, why don't you join me, type stuff, which is great, you know, and very supportive and very helpful. But until they actually physically see you losing weight,
Yeah.
it's not a thing.
No, that's why I said, the perception and everything and the expectations don't change. And it makes sense because, you know, in ways, because whatever experience they're drawing off of, that they like that, they've probably heard a person, oh, yeah, I've heard you say that 20, you know, who cares, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
You know, it's crying wolf, essentially, is what happens, you know?
It's like,
so,
what makes this time any different than the last time?
exactly,
Whatever.
yeah. Okay, you'll buy some wristbands and, yeah, all right.
Yeah, exactly. So it's tough because sometimes we don't change. We have good intentions and we don't.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's like, how do you, without becoming the new person in school, it's like without shedding your entire life and starting fresh, straight over from scratch, how can you make others see how you are changing?
Right. And honestly, I'd say in an ideal situation, you shouldn't care. You should just do what you need to do and let everything else fall where it does. However,
right,
whether you're dealing with mental illness or not, that's not really how it works. You know, as much as people want to pretend that they don't care what other people think, it's totally not true, because by nature, we all want to fit in. We all want to be part of this. You know, we want to be accepted.
We're pack animals.
Yeah, we want to be accepted. So, yeah, it's a good question, though. Like, how do you do that without completely changing who you are? Or, like you said, you know, becoming the new kid in school, or getting a new job, or, well, you know, to where you can essentially just go be a new person. You know, how many TV shows have you seen where the one that's sticking out in my head right now is there's The Simpsons, where they're going to the Flanders cabin. And
yes.
Lisa's like finally a chance to become someone new, you know, and she doesn't want to be a nerd anymore. So she, you know, and Bart ruins her time because she's more popular than he is for the first time like ever, you know. So it's without doing that, how do you really,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, some things that I've found that have helped is people respond very well to visual cues.
Mm.
So, when you want to make a change in your life, find a way to make it not just an internal change. Try to make it an outwardly change as well. So, like, for instance, a new haircut,
Yeah.
new clothes.
Right, especially if you're like, I'm going to lose weight, and people are like, oh, okay. Just when you start losing weight, put on different clothes that you wouldn't normally wear, kind of a thing, because they'll be like, I haven't seen that before, because in their mind, there's that, you know what I mean? Like, you notice that stuff usually. Like,
Yeah, and you start seeing that. So change is easier if it's more visible. If it's visible.
Yeah.
So even if it's not necessarily related per se to the change, like for instance, at work, you want to feel more professional. You want people to start taking you more seriously. So if you wear things a little bit more conservative,
Yeah.
then they're going to react more to that than if you just start acting more professional.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so stuff like that helps, and vice versa. If people's opinion of you is that you're very severe, try dressing a little bit more casual or taking a more casual approach to things, and they'll start getting that.
Yeah.
So I think that's some easy places to start, stuff that you can take away right away and just start doing, so that will definitely help. Another thing is to include people in on your change.
Yeah.
Don't just make grand announcements. Get people to help you.
Well, yeah, because a great example, like you were saying about, joining a gym. If you get someone else that joins a gym with you, and then you're like, blah, blah, if you mention it or something, they may be like, hey, if like, man, she's, working her butt off over at the, that kind of a thing. It can kind of help because you can kind of get a hype man at that point.
Yeah. And that's absolutely. Or enlist people, like something that I do often is I have a tendency to talk a lot. I know, shocker, everybody. A woman that talks on a podcast for an hour every week has a hard time, talks too much. And, not a big surprise. But I have, when I found this starting to get in the way, I have enlisted people that I've hung out with or people at work that I'm in a lot of meetings with, and I ask them, I explain to them, I'm like, hey, I'm trying to work on this. I'm trying to change. I'm trying to, become more succinct. When I start getting too wordy or talking too much, shoot me a signal.
Yeah.
Kind of, play with your hair or, do something to attract my attention so that'll be my cue. I'm like, oh, shoot. Okay, I'm talking too much. I got to cut it out. So, not only does that bring other people in on it and they feel like they're helping you, which they really are helping you,
yeah,
but it will grow the support to make your change easier, as well as help them see your change more.
Right.
Because they're looking for it, because now that you've brought them in on it. So definitely enlist people and get a support group and get, whatever it is that you're working on changing to help change your image or your impression. Another big thing is stop doing what you don't want to do. Someone with a bad temper, if you have a bad temper and you don't want to be known as the angry guy, then you got to stop being angry.
Yeah.
You
actually have to make the change. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you kind of have to make the change.
Yeah.
So, make sure that you are very cognizant of it, because you're almost going to have to go overboard the opposite direction to kind of even the playing field. If they think you're angry all the time, make sure that you're not angry all the time.
Yeah.
And when you're not angry, make sure people know you're happy.
Yeah.
You can't just be not angry. You have to be some other emotion that they can see, they can pick up on.
Right.
Being the quiet guy in the corner, yeah, you're not the angry guy anymore, but you're not.
Yeah, but
that's not you either.
Yeah, now they're just assuming it's a silent rage is all it is.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not going to work either.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to, you have to find ways to, enlist help and to, modify things a bit. Now, some bigger issues that have come up that have, some people would say, could be related to mental illness. I don't personally agree. But gender changes, or even someone who decides to be openly gay, I guess would be the right terms for it. Mm. Someone, that all of a sudden decides that they want to share a part of themselves with the world and don't quite know how.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult. So no longer are we talking about something that they're changing about themselves. It's something more that they're sharing. And it's like, how do you successfully share a part of yourself that you've kind of kept quiet for so long? And that's another deep step.
Yeah.
And it's very tricky in its own way. So, because you want people to accept you, of course, but you also got to understand that they need time to understand and compute.
Yeah.
So, again, I definitely recommend enlisting help of loved ones and close friends, letting them know what's going on, letting them, reset the rules. I think I've heard many people have said.
Yeah.
It's like, reset the rules for them.
Right.
Things are going to change. You can't just change and expect everyone to be on the same playbook.
Right.
If you're going to change, you kind of have to reset things a bit for them.
Yeah, this is a little different, only in that you are... They can react however they want to react. I mean, that's going to happen. But it's like, look, this is who I am. Like, this isn't whatever. This is who I am. Mm-hmm. You have to deal with that. Like, I'm not going to change who I am because you can't handle it.
Right.
That's your problem, not my problem. And, I'm not saying you have to be that, like, aggressive about it, obviously, for anybody, no matter what your change is. If you're... Right. Whatever, like if people, I'm going to lose weight, and then every time you're eating a salad for lunch or something, you get somebody, eating rabbit food, and you're like, it would go a lot further if you would be, helpful, like a little more positive about this stuff. But, so if you make that change, like I said, again, in an ideal world, that's their problem if they can't handle it. It goes back to, if they can't blah, 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 then they're not your friends. Yep. That's 100% true. Mm-hmm. It's hard to cut people out of your life if you have to, but sometimes you just do. But that's not what we're talking about. It's just the idea that if you start sharing something about yourself like this and people react negatively, there's going to be people that will. It'd be great if they did.
You may have to make some difficult choices.
Yeah, you may have to realize that some people can't accept that. Mm-hmm. And it sounds awful because I can't imagine any person telling me something like that and me going, yeah, we're done. Like, yeah. I can't be friends with you because of this in your life or whatever, or you're this and not this. I just can't imagine it. I can't. I can't fathom it. So, but there are people who can be that way. Mm-hmm. So
But before it gets to that point, there's the two-way street. It's all about the communication. So, I mentioned it before, I'll mention it again. It's about resetting the rules. It's about gaining other people in on your journey, bringing people in on your journey. If they don't want to join you, that's fine. They don't have to. They can go their own way, whatever. But if you are starting a path, a journey, whether it's weight loss, whether it's embracing a side of yourself that you hadn't up until this point.
Going sober.
Introducing who you are.
Yeah, or going sober even, you know?
Yep, going sober is a big one.
You know, like, hey, I'm not going to put myself in a bar or whatever, at least not at the moment, because I understand, like, I'm trying really hard to resist this. And blah, and there you're gonna, you know, there's always those friends that are, just don't drink, and you know, that don't get it because it seems easy,
right?
You know, like Heno told me when we were talking when he was on that show, and I said something about that I stopped drinking at one point, and he was like, "Oh, I wish I could have done that," you know, I wish I could have just that easily, you know, reined it in, and it's like exactly, it's you know. Again, people don't understand how good they have it sometimes, how easy it isn't, or how easy it is for some people and how hard it is for others. And that's, you know, like.
And it's all about, everybody has their own journey. Everybody has their own path that they have to walk and that they have to take. And, you know, it's finding that, you know, that dumb word balance, it pops up everywhere, isn't it? That word balance.
It's really not. I mean, it's that's pretty much the overwhelming message of what we're doing here. Like not just today, but overall, it's giving and hopefully helping people find tools to reach their balance. You know.
Yeah. And understanding. You know, it's sad when someone can't accept part of you, but if they can't, you got to let them go.
Yeah.
But definitely help them to understand.
Yeah.
To the best of your ability.
Right.
You know, if you value someone in your life, make sure that you communicate with them. You know, let them know that, you know, hey, no, this isn't just a phase. This isn't just something else. This is part of me that I really, I need to share with you.
Right.
And I want you to come along on this journey with me. I want you to be my friend. I want you to be part of my life, to be part of this. I can't change this. This isn't going away.
Right.
But
this isn't a phase. This isn't this is who I am.
Right.
And if you can't accept who I am, that's where there's a problem. Like I'm not, you know, especially if you're not going to be in your face to somebody with different stuff kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like if you're like I'm going to use the one that everyone will pick on, and I'm not, and it's like being vegan. Or CrossFit. Those are the two that on the internet constantly are getting made fun of, basically. And it's, you know, a lot of people, no matter what change they make in their life, they will. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm sure people are tired of hearing me talk about my depression at times. You know, but that's who I am. I can't help that. You know, well, I can help that. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing with like that. It's like, oh, I'm vegan. And you're like, yeah, we get it. We know. And it's like, look, if that's a problem, you know, or, oh, well, we'd go here, but Mr. Vegan can't go there. You know, like those. And it's like, that's when you have to start looking at that person is really
a negative influence.
They're
on your
not
life.
accepting you. Yeah. Otherwise, they would try to be. I can't think of the word for it. They would try to be as encompassing as possible, like to make everybody feel comfortable in wherever you're going. Or again, you know, if you have an alcoholic in your group or a recovering alcoholic, however you want to word that, you know, maybe don't pick a bar. You know, like you can pick a restaurant or something. Even if it has a bar, it's still a little different. At least it's not like you're sitting there mainly with the bar being the focus or something. You know, it's like
exactly.
You know.
And that's a perfect transition to the other half of things. If someone around you is trying to make a change in their lives and trying to change themselves or trying to embrace a part of themselves they hadn't embraced before, how do you help them? And I think that's perfect, exactly what you just said. It's approach the person with understanding, you know, make sure that they know that whatever you do, that that this is new to you, just like it's new to them, that you'll do everything that you can to help them, but you're not really sure what to do or how.
Yeah.
You know, don't be afraid to ask. You know, ask somebody. It's like, you know what, I want to be supportive, but I'm not really sure how to support you.
Right.
You know, what do you need? Or
well,
can
you know,
you let me know what you want and I'll help you.
Keep using the, you know, the recovering alcoholic kind of a concept is, or a person with anxiety, same kind of thing. It's like, hey, you know, we were thinking of going here, but I know that place is kind of busy and lot. Is that gonna,
Mm-hmm.
is that gonna really mess with you, kind of a thing? And it'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah, actually, it really does. But like, okay, well, what kind of, like maybe ask for a counter offer, basically, and
Yeah.
Same with
what
the
place would you
alcoholic.
like to go? What do you think?
yeah, like, hey, our normal hangout is the
Mm-hmm.
bar, but we want you to come with us and feel included, not feel pressured.
Mm-hmm.
Where can you go and feel comfortable, and then find a middle ground. Like, I'm not saying you should give up every place you like to go because of that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also, if you're that person making the change, you should not be insulted if you get invited less to certain things, because
Right.
that may happen.
Exactly. But so it's understanding on both parts.
Yeah.
And you have to give people the benefit of the doubt until they prove you otherwise.
And it's really not that much work for either side to do this.
No,
it's
it's
really
not.
of the different things for helping people and all this other stuff. It's really not difficult to just ask if somebody's, it's kind of like if you got a group of 6 people and you're going to pick a restaurant, it's like maybe kind of get a gauge of what everybody kind of likes, so that you don't pick a place that like 3 people are like, yeah, I really hate Mexican food, and it's, maybe,
Right.
or whatever, but same kind of idea is, it's not that
And
hard. You're just...
yeah.
Go ahead. That was it.
Oh, that's right. And it just, I remember a point when I was a teen, my late teens, early 20s, when I was just starting college or in the middle of college, and my best friend came out to me as being gay. And he just, he felt this for a long time, but, and tried different things, but, he dated women and stuff, but it just didn't work for him. And he finally told me, he's like, you know what, I've come to the determination, the only thing that feels right to me in my body is being gay. And I said, okay. I said, we'll work through this. We'll figure it out. So, because, he had a lot of trepidation, a lot of, it was 2000. It was around 2000, 99, 2000 time. So things were a little bit different in society. Not that different, but a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started talking, and I'm like, well, I don't quite know what to do, but, I'm here for you, and I'll figure it out with you.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point he's like, well, there's this club I really want to go to. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we ended up going to a gay club, and it was my first time ever going to a gay club.
Mm-hmm.
He'd been a couple times, but I wanted to support him, and I wanted to, to be there for him.
Yeah.
And it was such an interesting experience for me, because it was nothing that I've ever really experienced before at that point in my life.
Yeah, and it's not like there's anything
bad or anything.
Yeah,
no.
exactly.
I mean,
yeah,
it was fun. It was great. Yeah. I never thought to go to a gay club before. It just never kind of crossed into my social life,
Right.
And so I'm like, all right. So I went and, and we had a good time, and it really struck me is so different, because when we would go to normal clubs, guys would come up and talk to me, and usually it was because they were interested in me. Well, I went to this club with my friend, and guys went up and started talking to me as they normally did, and, we're just talking and flirting, having a good time, like always. Completely forgot I was in a gay club. And I'm, just acting like I normally do, when I'm at a club, having a good time, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then they lean over, and instead of slipping me their number for me, like, we think your friend's really cute. Can you give him my number?
Right.
And it just kind of hit me. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
This isn't all about me, is it?
Right. Now, see, I went to, because a long time ago, one of the guys that was part of our group of friends was well, not just one. There were a few of them that were gay. Mm-hmm. And the one night we were trying to decide where to go, and we were going to go to a bar or something. And he's like, why do we always go to straight bars? He's like, why can't we go to, and we were like, all right, let's go. Who cares,
Right.
I'm going to get drunk. That's all I was looking for.
A bar is a bar is a bar.
Yeah.
Great, let's go.
So I was like, do they serve beer? That's all I care about. That's all I'm looking for. And he's like, yeah, of course. I'm like, good. I'm in. So we get there, Yeah, and whatever. It was, I don't dance at any club, so that wasn't happening. I'm just sitting there drinking because, again, that was my goal for the night. And I got a good amount of beers bought for me that night. And I'll be honest, I got more attention there than I ever did at any straight club I've ever been in.
Right.
So, that was, a nice ego boost, Much appreciated. Unfortunately, I'm not on that team, but, it was much appreciated. And everyone, that said something to me, I was like, I'm here with my buddies, or my friends, I'm like, I'm not gay. I'm just here for, whatever. And they were like, that's so awesome you came out and blah, blah, know what I mean? They're like, it's so cool that you're here and you're willing to come support your friend. You're not support, but you know what I'm saying. I'm terribly wording this. But no, there was no animosity at all. There was nobody that was like, you teased me, there was nothing like that. It was like, all right, cool,
Right, exactly.
So,
and that's honestly how you can, I think to kind of buttonhole this whole conversation is whenever anyone is going through a change, whether it's you or someone you love, someone you know, I think the most important part is communication, is talking to each other, letting each other know what you need. Don't be afraid to ask, because most of the time people don't know. They don't know what you need. They don't know. They can't read your mind.
Right.
So especially if you're making a massive change in your life, they've only known how to communicate with you before. They don't know how to communicate with you now.
Yeah.
Something that, if you and your buddy always used to go out and have beers every night, and all of a sudden you decide that you don't want to drink beer anymore.
Yeah.
Then, your buddy's going to be kind of confused.
Yeah. That's what we do.
Right. We go have beers. I don't know what to do in this situation.
And it could be I'll still go with you. I'm just going to be drinking ginger ales all night or whatever, or tonic or something, but
maybe we can go to movies instead, maybe we can go, help you have to help people sometimes to understand. It's like, they don't necessarily don't want to help you change. They just don't know how.
Yeah.
So, enlist them in your journey. Bring them along and say, let's do this instead. This is what I'm working on. This is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. Because I really think you find that most people want to be part of the support system.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think most people want to be removed from people's lives, because no one likes feeling rejected.
Mm-hmm.
It's, on either side of a change,
Exactly.
And so I think it goes back to a little bit like we talked last week with body issues and different stuff about the perception part of it, because you are projecting at that point how they're going to react. Now don't get me wrong, there's certain changes in your life I can totally understand being very weary, guarded about. Yeah, like, hey, if I'm going to start exercising and blah, 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 I'm not worried about how anyone else is going to feel about me so much. If I'm going to change and no longer be drinking all the time, I'm going to be a little more, like, man, they're going to be, they're going to be busting my balls all the time on this. That happens. And then there's like hey, I'm gay, or I'm, trans, or, you know what I mean? Like, I'm basically no longer what you thought I was, probably, kind of a thing.
Yes.
That's one I'm going to be careful of, because there's going to be some people that could react, I don't want to say violently. I mean, I guess there's always that option, but it's, I'm thinking more along the lines of very aggressively toward you,
So
especially
be careful.
Guys to guys, yeah.
But be careful. Make sure, it always comes back to make sure you get a good support system around you.
Yep.
Be strong in your convictions.
Yeah.
Whether it's, you're giving up the bad food and becoming vegan, whether you're coming out and acknowledging a side of you that you've not acknowledged before, like you're gay or you're trans.
Right.
Or you're dealing with anger issues, or you talk too much like I do.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you're working on.
Or honestly, when I started telling people more about having depression,
There you
There
go.
were a lot of people
Perfect,
that I've
yeah.
told that have reacted in like a really kind of a way, which blows my mind. But, you know, again, I'm seeing from inside the mask, not outside. So, yeah.
I still have people tell me that that I don't act bipolar.
That's because
Sorry.
most people think bipolar is 1 second you're angry and the next second you're
Right.
and
They're
that's
like-
not at all how it works.
It's like, no, I've never seen that in you.
Yeah.
I've never seen you that way.
It's like, first of all, I
these-
do a good job of covering it.
Yeah, these things don't
Yeah.
they don't make sense, and
Yeah.
well, they're not going to, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's like, I understand. That makes complete sense to me why you don't understand.
Absolutely,
You know,
yeah.
and
Like, I've gone out of my way to make sure you didn't know, you know,
Right,
so
right.
I'm not surprised, you know, like that, like, good,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted, you know, it's,
That's what I want.
Yeah.
That's why I'm taking medicine, and that's
Right.
why, you know.
what
I'm
was it best
glad.
for me at the time? Probably not, because if somebody recognized these things, then maybe it would have saved me some trouble,
Yeah.
but, you know.
And I still
Yeah.
get the, you know, the wow, you know, I kind of miss the old Jen. It's like, yeah, well, you know, she was fun.
Yeah.
said,
Like I
"Ah."
said, you know, it's like my only response to that is, I don't know how to say it without cursing, but, you know,
Yeah.
F you, because
Yeah.
I was sick.
Right.
Like, if you, after knowing that I was sick, pine for the days of me being sick, F you, you know, because that's a jerk move. I get what you're saying, but jerk move.
Right.
So, yeah.
And that's the type of stuff. So you just kind of, you know, and when I have those situations, you know, both situations,
Yeah.
I've kind of dealt with the same way. Is, you know, I understand where they're coming from. I agree with them in some points.
Sure.
You know, I'm like, you know what, you're right,
Yeah.
and I can see how this is confusing for you.
Yeah.
You know, it was hella confusing for me for a long time.
Right, yeah.
Like,
Well,
I
and
didn't get it.
yeah, exactly. I mean, no different than sexual orientation concept. You know, like,
Yeah.
you're confused. Like, how do you think I've felt for the last X amount of years of my life? Like, I've been trying to figure this out before I said anything to anyone because, you know, I'm trying to figure it out, let alone, you know,
Explain
whatever.
it to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, I don't understand it. I can't explain it. You know, it's, yeah.
So I mean, it's this, and you know, as we laugh, I think that's another big point that we didn't bring up so far is humor.
Yeah.
It's like, do not discount the power of humor, people.
Yeah.
You know,
I honestly think humor, I think humor is the best coping mechanism there is.
absolutely, I agree with you.
Now, I don't mean as necessarily a defense mechanism type of
Right.
coping. I'm just meaning that, like, when things seem dark or whatever, if there's something you can find to laugh at it, and just, you know, it makes
And
everyone a
agree.
little more comfortable at that point, usually, you know?
Right. It gets rid of awkward moments. It makes everyone a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
It increases the lines of communication.
Right.
I mean, that's been proven scientifically that when you're laughing, you're way more open to listening.
Yeah.
You know, and by laughing about it, by making jokes about it, appropriate jokes, though, people. I mean, you got to make sure that you're appropriate because, you know, someone coming out to you.
Oh,
and you
yeah,
making-
yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Someone's coming out to you and you make a bad gay joke. Not a good choice.
Yeah, right.
Maybe later down the road when you guys can laugh together about it.
Well, I'll say this. It probably depends on the person a little bit, too, because
True,
some
true.
people might, like, if it was me or Tony, my
Yeah.
co-host on Salty Language, I think an inappropriate joke could be made, and we would both appreciate the inappropriate joke. So, it's
So
just...
read your
yeah,
audience. I
read
guess
your
we'll leave it
audience,
at
yeah.
that. Read your audience before you make the jokes.
Right.
But yes, laughing about it and stuff, and I do laugh at myself. I did some stupid things.
Yeah.
You know, some stuff I'm not so proud of. Some stuff
Yeah.
I laugh at and like,
Yeah.
oops. You know, but
I write tweets that make light of depression. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, and I've had people like, how could you? This isn't blah blah, and I'm like, no. First of all, this is my journey. I get to decide what I think is funny. If you don't like it, that's fine. That's your problem. not mine.
Right.
I need to do these things because sometimes, there's just so much in life that's dark, but there's that element of funny in there, and you just can't ignore it. It's just, I don't want to live in a life where I can't laugh at the darkest things I can laugh at.
Right.
Because that's how I deal with those dark times. Otherwise, I'll be super somber here. Otherwise, I'd probably have killed myself by now. And I'm not exaggerating that, you know? My laughing at things in a lot of ways is what got me through a lot of things that I don't know if I could have coped with otherwise.
Very true.
You know, that's the greatest thing my parents ever gave me. Love and a sense of humor. Those are the two things the best two things they ever gave me. You know, so.
Yep. I cannot agree with you more.
Yeah.
At that point, I guess it's probably time for us to start wrapping up, huh?
Yeah, probably. What was your win for the week?
My win for the week is, I've been thinking about this one because I've had a pretty quiet week for me.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say my win for the week is appreciating myself for what people see in me. And I'll explain because that's a little bit convoluted. But when I got that job offer, originally I was just excited that somebody wanted me.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't matter who, what, when, where. I'm like, oh, they want me, they want me, they want me. You know, and I got so excited about that and stuff. But when I stopped and I thought about it and I took a step back away from that initial reaction and said, you know what? I think that's awesome that they want me, but I know why they want me, and I'm worth fighting for what I need.
Yeah.
It's no longer about what they want. It's what I need.
Right.
You know, and I was able to take that and put that in perspective and say, maybe not as fast as I wanted to put it in perspective, but I got there.
Right.
And that's the win. I got there. You know, it took me a little time to put it in perspective. When I put it in perspective and said, you know what, as much as they want me, I know that I need more than what they can give me.
Right.
You know what? And that's more important.
Yep.
It's not me sacrificing to make someone else happy. It's finding something that's going to make me happy that I can make them happy with.
Right. And it's also not settling.
Yes.
And because a kind of a flip on this would be you can look at this similar to online dating.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't get a lot of attention on online dating, so if I get that, oh, so-and-so liked you, or they send you a message, and you're like, awesome, you know, and then you start looking, and you're like, wow, that's so cool, and then you start reading their profile, and you're like, we don't sound compatible. Mm-hmm. Now, that may or may not be a reason to scrap the idea, but it's still, maybe you start kind of cooling on it, and then when you take that step back and you go, if I go out with them, am I just doing it because they liked me and I'm that desperate for being liked? You know, like it's kind of you know, a little bit in that vein. And I know that sounds really neurotic as I explain that, but it's not. It's just, you know.
Yeah, it's valuing yourself, valuing your time, and valuing theirs.
Yeah.
You know, it really is. And
exactly.
that's the reason I didn't go on the interview. I even thought about going on the interview just for the experience.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know what? That's not fair.
Yeah.
Because that's not valuing them or valuing their time. And, you know, who knows? Maybe I'm taking an interview away from somebody else that is truly interested.
And you very well might be. You know, they may have X amount of time per day, or maybe they're only going to take X amount of candidates. And, you know, maybe somebody gets that really needs that interview, you know, and whereas you've been through enough, you don't really need an interview, you know, kind of a thing. So, yeah, I agree.
So, you know, so that's my win, is that I valued myself more than the need to be accepted and liked.
Which is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a hard draw to ignore.
Yeah.
You know, because again, you know, like the example I gave is same idea. It's like you want to be liked, you want people to like you, and you know, you were just like, I still want that, but I want it on my terms.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
So what about you? What's your win for the week?
My win is that I kind of I feel like I've put myself out there more this week than I have in a while. And, with doing these podcasts and stuff. And because normally I'm very much the type that I want after, and like I said earlier, I'm fighting the urge all week to just pull in, cancel things, not do this, not to, and I'm not going to do that. Like, I am not going to let that pull win on me this week because I know I can fight this. Sometimes I can't, but right now I know I can. Now by Sunday, who knows? We'll see where I'm at. But I hate letting people down. So, there's always that too. But I feel like, and I've done a couple of things that I kind of don't want to get into on here, but have been kind of significant steps in my life. So I feel like this week I've kind of, for lack of a better term, like I discussed earlier, sometimes you have a good day and you're like, I'm getting all the things done. I kind of feel like I'm having that week to where I'm in a place mentally this week that I'm like, I'm doing it all, kind of a thing. Now, next week, you'll probably only be able to find me under my covers, but,
But you're taking the chances. You're allowing that to happen. You're pushing your boundaries and you're exploring.
Very much so.
That's awesome.
Like I said, the live podcast is very outside of my comfort zone. Because I am not a person who really, like, we've discussed doing Salty Language live a few times, and neither one of us has really been hot to the idea, but I'm probably more, like, Tony'd probably do it. He'd be like, whatever, it's, I'm the one more so that's going to be like, I don't want to, yeah. So,
no, that is an awesome one. That absolutely.
Yeah.
So, well, on that high note, if you want to continue the conversation, please reach out to us. You can reach me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. Again, I'll say I don't post all that often, but I check it daily. I have a little notification comes up. So if you mention me in a post or if you direct message me, I will respond as quickly as I can. And I did want to mention, for those of you guys that are out there tweeting about how men don't have feelings and how they're supposed to have feelings, but they don't think they do have feelings. I know you are all liars and you all have feelings. You all know you have feelings and you were just fronting. So I'm calling you out, misters. You know who you are, especially nice. You, the one hiding behind the beard. I know you. All right. That being said, you can also reach the podcast on our website at thecrazylife.weebly.com, or you can shoot us an email at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. And you, Brian, how can they reach you?
We have a show Twitter account if you want to hit us up on that. Generally, I'm using that mostly for just like, hey, here's the link to the new show kind of a thing. I probably should interact and do some more stuff with it, but I haven't to this point. But that is the Crazy Life Pod on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Stunami, and my other show, Salty Language, is at salty_language, or you can find our show at saltylanguage.com.
And if you want to laugh, folks, I'm not just saying this because, I'm a good friend of Brian and Tony's. It is a really, really great show, and it definitely makes you laugh. Mm-hmm. But as a cautionary, it is not safe for work, people.
Right. Well, it is called Salty Language, so people should assume, but yeah.
Make sure you have your headphones in pretty tight.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
It does get a little salty.
Yeah, we get blue pretty quick usually.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to say our intro song was done by our pal Heno, who you can find on Twitter at IdaHeno. Or if you're on SoundCloud, you can look up Monkey Tongue Productions. He's got a bunch of podcast intros and such. So if you're looking for that kind of a thing, hit him up, and maybe you'll be lucky enough to get on his ever-growing list of podcast songs or music or whatever.
And you could have an amazing song like ours.
Right. And also I want to mention, because I keep forgetting to do this and I feel bad about it, we are part of the Wicked Radio Network and the Tangent Bound network, and so go check out those network pages and see a bunch. There's a bunch of shows on them, There's
Oh,
stuff
give them some love.
like-
Yeah, there's some great,
Yeah.
great people involved in both of those networks
Yep.
that we're very fortunate to be a part of.
Yeah, so like I said, we keep forgetting that, and I keep trying to correct myself so I get better at saying that, so there's that. And I also want to point out, as always, that we are not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind. If you need real help, please go seek that real help. Make an appointment with a doctor or a therapist. If you don't think you can afford it, there are a lot of programs in a lot of states through mental health funding and other things to help people who don't have the money for it. So please don't let that be an excuse. At least look into it. And if by chance there isn't something in your area, there are a variety of things online that are communities with people dealing with a variety of mental health issues. If you're on Reddit, there's probably an r/whatever your mental illness is. Because I know there's a depression one and an anxiety one because I'm part of both of them. And again, if you're in a dire way and you're thinking of taking your own life or anything, please contact the suicide hotline number instead, and please don't do that because that's there's just better options.
Like DMing us.
Yes.
We're here for you.
Yeah.
If you need us, we're here for you. And like Brian said, we're not professionals, but we're good listeners, and sometimes we have good advice. So, or at least hopefully, I like to think so. But anyways, with that, have a great week. Claim your wins, everybody, and make sure you show some love to your fellow humans and help them when they want to make their changes.
Yeah. And send us your win for the week.
Please, we'd love to hear your win.
Reach out to us on Twitter. Send us your win for the week. Just let us know what your win is. And again, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about whatever it is. It can be a small win or a big one. Or if you want to keep it anonymous, you can DM them to us, and we'll just read them on the show or something, and no names will be involved. So, yeah. I keep meaning to mention that, too, and I keep forgetting.
Yeah, send us your wins. Send us whatever you want to send us, except for some nudie pics. Not really interested in those. But any verbiage that you want to send at us would be awesome. So I guess on that note, we will see you around next week.